Peace and justice are the highest goods the government has to administer. When they rule on earth, the divine spirit reigns. When they succumb, evil governs. The government must therefore apply the necessary means in order to enforce peace and justice against the forces of chaos. Even violence is admissible if attacks cannot be repelled otherwise. By no means do we intend to present the spectacle of defenseless sheep. Of course, violence must be the last resort if all other means fail. In this sense, even the use of force by soldiers or the police is service to God. Certainly, the defense of one's country is the direct duty of every man. Blessed is the soldier of that country which is not the aggressor. Defense of one's own country requires various means and defensive measures. No one can deny this. The fight against the dark forces, however, must first of all be led in such a way that as many as possible of those on the wrong side are being brought back to the right track. A suitable concept for this is as yet missing. In particular, today's prisons do not serve this purpose. They are among the worst dens of vice. Instead of elevating the offenders, they bring them even further down on their downward path. It is inconsistent to treat as criminals those in need of medical attention. There is only one effective means for making good injustice: work for the common good. And there is only one hope to improve wrongdoers: to integrate them into the healthy discipline of a ordered, meaningful working life. Is not the prison the brother of the cemetery? Labor opens the prisons. The prisons of the future will therefore be more like labor camps, where the practice of a better life is taught and an opportunity for valuable work offered. The goal must be to heal the disease of the criminal. He who bestows beauty on the people is like a priest who administers a divine gift. The divine spirit reveals itself in beauty. Beauty is, like truth and justice, a principle which is promoted or suppressed by the thoughts, words and deeds of every one of us. It becomes a reality only when we emulate it. The artist senses the acting of the spirit in the material world. He uncovers a deeper truth than we ordinary people are able to perceive. The letters and observations of the great artists show that they all were spiritually high-standing beings. Art reveals the spirit in all matter and its connection with the higher worlds. It shows the spiritual reality that exists beyond the material one. In beauty will infinity be manifested. In beauty, the teachings of the seekers of the spirit are illumined. Each realization is born in beauty. The arts bring a reality of the spiritual world to material expression. By striving for beauty, they create a link between the higher and the earthly world. Indeed, the bridge between the two worlds can be made real if the actions are filled with beauty. The path to the fiery world leads through the heart and through beauty. True art is never intellectual. It enlightens and transforms. It elevates our spirit. Art is the highest stimulus for the regeneration of the spirit. The wondrous pearls of art can actually uplift and transmute the spirit instantaneously. The vitality of art, which guards the divine fire, gives to humanity the saturation by that fire which kindles the spirit and imbues all worlds. We have seen how the creations of art have transformed man, something all the book learning in the world cannot do. Art is indeed a means to improve people. To listen to the beautiful and to look at the beautiful means to better oneself. By showing us the beauty, the perfection of the higher spheres, the arts awaken our longing for better conditions down here on earth as well. Art awakens our longing for beauty, for the highest, and here is its chief and great significance. Art inspires us to pursue the spiritual path, to strive for perfection, and to approach the earth to heaven. The world is striving for crowning perfection. Manifold are the paths of the search. The closest path to perfection will be the one of beauty. If we assimilate the spirit of the arts and preserve it within us, instead of betraying it once we leave the museum or the concert hall, our earthly life will be completely transformed. Man is uplifted when he associates with the beautiful, looks at the beautiful, listens to the beautiful, thinks in the ways of the beautiful. It can be understood that without assimilation of the beautiful, there can be no evolution. However, mankind still needs to learn to deal with the great works of art in accordance with their purpose. That means to consciously use them. They are destined not for entertainment, but for elevation, consolation, strengthening, and enlightenment. It must be understood that the products of art are for education, not for diversion. The crisis of the arts in our time points to the crisis of a society which has lost wisdom and the knowledge of the higher reality. We have exactly that art caught in the external, the material, which a society deprived of spirit deserves. The crisis of our spiritual life is reflected in the crisis of the churches. It is amazing to what an extent people fill themselves with interpretations in which they do not believe. The contemporary churches are the best example of why the highest manifestation does not alter life. They have lost their influence to the extent they have averted themselves from the concern for the salvation of man's higher nature. A church that is caught in the material sphere is unfit to serve as an intermediary to the spiritual worlds. The representatives of the church promise people salvation of the soul, but beyond the physical world they do not go. The return to the powerful concept of the immortality of the soul will renew the churches. They can regain spiritual authority when they revert to their true mission: to lead people to the higher worlds, to the spiritual path of the elevation of the soul to God. The churches are destined to heal, nourish, care for, and elevate the soul, not the perishable body. Churches, temples, sacred places, and centers of faith are needed more than ever as a counterweight to materialism. They fulfill their mission, however, only as places of pure spirituality. The original instigators to the building of such sacred places well knew what final purpose would be served. They knew they were creating centers of communication through which the White Lodge forces might work, and that all pure, unselfish souls could in reality communicate with the higher powers by such means. And this is why when a congregation and a priest or minister become befouled and centralized or commercialized, there is such a loss of spiritual power. The current between that group and the spiritual center is cut off by the destruction of the center of communication. The faith proclaimed in church must offer concrete help and spiritual guidance in all matters of everyday life. It is the firm basis upon which our whole life rests. If the churches are unable to provide such a fundament, they lose their function in society. To be true, religion and philosophy must offer the solution of every problem. A faith that does not guide one's entire life is worthless. The priests form the highest level of human society. They are sacred men. They have advanced so far on the spiritual path, learned so thoroughly from their own superiors that they can point this path, walk on it, and lead the others upwards. A teaching is good only when it is in worthy hands. As a trailblazer, the priest must not point a direction into which he himself does not go at all. He is a model of obedience, for otherwise he would not be able to convince mankind of the usefulness of submitting to the higher commandments. Someone gives lectures about cleanliness, yet is himself extremely filthy. Will such an instruction be convincing? Or a lazy man summons to labor, but who will give heed to him? He is not to make many words, but to show us by his example how we can reach salvation and build the kingdom of God on earth. But I keep under my body and bring it into subjection, lest that by any means, when I have preached to others, I myself should be a castaway. A priest is someone closer to the higher worlds than the others. He must be able to actually impart the divine blessing to us. Only he can be a true leader of souls and guide people on the way to God, who awakens the divine in them and teaches them the spiritual life, the communion with the higher spheres. The clergy fulfills in the community the important task of interpreting the Holy Scriptures. People have at all times sought inspired leaders who explained to them the words of the Lord and their application on the questions of the time. Through truly authorized priests, the Mahatmas themselves speak to their followers. The priests know, proclaim, convey, and explain the will of God. Therefore, they are spiritual leaders in all areas of human life, from politics and economy down to everyday family life. They have to make sure that the higher will is actually carried out. every time, anywhere. Only the best, most sensitive spirits, real authorities, may be admitted to priesthood. Their education and qualification should not be of a scientific or intellectual nature. Rather, they should train and prepare their hearts for the higher communion from which alone they themselves receive the necessary guidance.